You can buy music for this arrangement by clicking the link in the description of this video. I am also going to share with you some advice on how to practice this piece, so if you would like to learn more, stay here with me. We will start with the first 8 bars of the right hand, which form the main theme of the piece. This theme will repeat a lot throughout this song, so let's make sure we know it really well. The most important thing about the right hand is the placing. Some groups will feature shapes which may not feel familiar to your fingers, and we will teach them the right placing for these potentially awkward shapes. Before you start playing the right hand, place all 4 fingers on the first 4 notes. So your fingers 1 to 3 are on the neighboring strings C, D, E. I hope you noticed that they will play a steps pattern. And then your 4th finger finds itself on the G below C, which is quite a distance. Practice placing and coming off the strings a few times, remembering to keep the fingers 2, 3, 4 low while doing this, and aiming to have all 4 fingers landing together at the same time. While placing, try to get the feeling of that space between the 3rd and 4th finger, and then you can hold this whole group and practice playing the 4th finger a couple of times. So you can get used to how it will feel being played with what is a bit of a stretch. And then you can follow that by playing the other 3 notes. The next group also consists of 4 fingers and is also a mix of steps and jumps. Can you spot between which fingers there is a gap here? That's between fingers 2 and 3. So think about those 2 fingers being kept at a bit of a distance from each other when you practice your placing and coming off. Once you've got the 2 groups, try placing one after another without playing. So first G, C, D, E, then D, C, A, G, and doing that a couple of times. Can you see that the 4th finger stays on the same string? Keep noticing patterns like that, because that will be a signal for your hand to stay close to the strings, allowing it to find the next group more easily. Let's now play the 2, while still paying lots of attention to placing. The next group also has a G, this time played by the 2nd finger. So, when moving between these 3 groups, always keep your fingers close to where you were. And here, when arriving at that 3rd group, you can tell your 2nd finger that it needs to aim for the last string you just played, where the 4th finger was before. So, at the same time, also remind it to reach out to the C while placing the 2 together. So your last group was G, C, A, D, and then you're moving to G, C. So now we've got the 3 groups, let's remind ourselves again how the placing goes. G, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, G, C. And now let's play these groups one after another, while always staying close to the strings we will be landing on. You can carry on practicing the group placing for whole 8 bars of the right hand. This will help you ensure that your fingers are always placed together when needed and that they know exactly where do they need to move to the next group. Even though it is the right hand that plays the melody, your left hand is just as important, or perhaps even more. If the left hand is not quite confident about its part, the right hand melody will keep breaking, and we certainly wouldn't want that. So, when joining hands together, work your way through the piece in tiny sections and focus on the places where left hand comes off the strings to move to another group of notes. And I know that there are many sections like that, but let me show you just one of those. We will use an example bars 22 and 23. Let's first play the left hand on its own, and we will aim to move as soon as we can from one bar to another, placing our fingers back as soon as we can. Once that feels good, you may need to play it a couple of times, we will add the right hand, but we will only give it very little to play to ensure that the right hand doesn't have to come off and get on the strings again when the left hand is supposed to be doing this at the same time. So we will prepare the right hand on the 3 last notes of bar 22 and the first note of bar 23, all 4 fingers on, no jumping around. We can even play it with our eyes closed. Which is good because we want to give all our attention to the left hand. With the right hand prepared, we get the left hand ready, and before playing anything, we will remind ourselves where it's going. We can do this first without playing. C, G, C, F, C, G, D, E. And then we can play that bit of the left hand. Now we will play this little section hands together, but here's the trick. We will not let our right hand play anything before the left hand is ready for the next group. And even if that means that there's a bit of a gap between the hands, we are not going to worry because we're just practicing. So let's go. Placing the left hand, now we can play the right hand. Once this is working fine, again you may need to repeat a few times, you can start closing that gap between the hands. So you're trying now to find the tempo that will be slow enough for your left hand to still have enough time to move, but also to be able to play this section in time. So it may sound a bit like this. Once you find it all easy, you can start adding more notes and maybe let the right hand play a little bit more this time. So let's have the right hand playing the beat just before the left hand, which is end of bar 21. Do you remember how we practiced this group of notes as chords? It may be worth giving your right hand a wee reminder of what it felt like, and while you're doing this, why not keep the left hand on the strings so the hands can get used to what it feels like being in this space together. So that's our G, C, D, E moving to D, C, A, G while left hand is holding on the first chord. And then you're going to give the right hand the same task as to the left hand before. So moving as fast as possible to the next group and not letting the left hand play anything else until the right hand is ready for the next step. As you can see here, at the beginning of bar 22, the hands are supposed to play together. So in this case, we will let the left hand play the very first note, but right after that note, we're going to stop and let the right hand find its path. Stop. If you practice this section the way I showed you before, you probably won't have any problems continuing the rest of it with the left hand. So practice now this new, slightly bigger section in the same way to make sure it's really solid before you add any new beats hands together. One tip that you may find useful while building up using these small sections is that when you look for a new group of notes to add, you will be going backwards. It's always easier to go forward and add the next section of notes, but then you may end up in a situation where you know the beginning of a section very well, but then as you progress, you begin to stumble more and more as you move into the unfamiliar. So when you add the new section with this method, going back, you always have the new, potentially tricky bit right at the beginning of your practice chunk, which means that 1, you have to really focus on what's going on there, because otherwise you won't be able to move forward. 2, you won't be able to get carried away playing the familiar bits of the piece. And finally 3, your confidence is growing as you go further into a piece, which is just a wonderful feeling. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Coffee Break Harp. If you did, leave a comment or share the link to the video with your friends, and as always, do let me know if you have suggestions for future episodes. I hope you have a lovely time practicing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here very soon. Take care for now. Bye!